Hello, I am Natalia Wojtkowiak and you are listening to the Manage the Problem podcast. I'm creating this place for owners and decision makers of small and medium-sized manufacturing companies. In this podcast, I talk openly and specifically about the problems of the production industry. I explain complex issues related to production management in simple language. I advise how to create optimized processes and effective teams. This is podcast created by practitioner for practitioners. So if you are looking for a knowledge, inspiration in a field of effective and efficient production and team management, you are in the right place. Welcome. I hope you are ready. Manage the problem. At least once in your life, you must have seen Formula 1 and that moment when the bolide enters the pit stop. Crew waits at designated places, everyone knows what to do and how to do it. Movements are planned, precise and fast. After 1.8 minutes, only the cloud of dust floats behind the car with new tires. That's how efficient McLaren mechanics are. Replacing bolide's tires for a driver and his team in a context of competition is wasted time, although planned. Do you know where there is a similar situation in your production? Changeover of the production line. Yes, it is. Do you know how much time it takes your team to prepare for production to move from the produced Model A to high quality Model B? 30 minutes? 1 hour? More? Have you ever calculated how much money you waste on this? In a year? In a month? You might be surprised because it can be a mount a fancy car or even several. Today I will tell you how to save money on this process, what is SMED, and what should you change when retooling your machines. Manage the problem. Let's start. I observed situation in small, medium-sized manufacturing companies. Certain situations are considered normal, even though they aren't. Not collecting data on production result. We have never done this. We continue to operate. Okay. Not improving and modifying the process. We produce a product that the customers buy. Why do it? Another one. Leading a production team where there is a demotivation, negative emotions and chaos. Everyone knows that the production industry is specific. And although these aren't only natural but really unnatural situations that I will talk about more than once, they also included the length of changeover time. This time should be properly defined as a time from the last produced piece of Model A to first good piece of Model B. No, it is not only time of replacing and setting tools and parameters. It is time needed to produce a good quality product after changes online and not scrap. And if we look at the changeover process in your company, think how many quick, effective and cheap changeovers you had per month. Because time to obtain a good quality product after changing from model to model is one aspect. Another aspect is the time needed to replace tools and settings. It is often very long compared to how long it could take if we thought it through, improve it, implement it, and if we add subsequent losses in the defective product scrap, it costs your production time, the time of employees handling this process, of course the price of materials used for the product that turn out the substandard. Depending on the type of production, of course, and the cost of producing the product, losses on the changeover may range from the thousands of hundreds of thousands euros. Have you ever calculated how much the cheapest and the most expensive changeover costs you each year? But I'm not doing this podcast to demotivate you and laugh at your ignorance or oversights, but to show you effective tools and actions that will change the situation in production. I hope for better. Such a method is a SMED. The acronym means single minutes exchange of die, and according to theoretical assumptions, it aims to complete the changeover in less than 10 minutes and using as few tools as possible. SMED is a method that allows you to optimize and manage the changeover process. In my career, I had never met changeover that took 10 minutes and less. But It depends on the number of stations on production and the precision required by the product. But I'm not saying that these 10 minutes are impossible. I'm not saying that every production needs them. SMED is not about almost killing yourself to switch from a good A to B model in 10 minutes. Rather, it's about understanding that changeover isn't at value for your client, for your product. Subjecting this process to constant questioning and observation, which leads to improvements. Okay, now are you probably wondering what exactly these improvements are? How should your production team identify them? The most important thing is that the machine doesn't work for as short time as possible and they produce good product as quickly as possible. So you need to pull out any setting inside the machine that aren't preventing it from restarting. This is often impossible, so in such situation, make the internal setting as quick and precise as possible. To better illustrate this, I will return to the example of pit stop. The call pulls up, and the crew isn't just getting ready. They are looking for tires, rim, and tools. They are waiting with ready tires, rims, and the special designed pneumatic wrench. And these tires and rim is a process that has been extended to outside, and the tools used have been minimized to minimum. I can multiply examples for everyday life. Setting the table for a new guest in restaurant, replacing a battery in a TV remote control, adding the new laundry. I hope you can be encouraged to learn more about this method. So, how do you perform a changeover SMED analysis? What do you need to do? Have a production line, automated or not, and at least 2 different product models. There are 3 stages in analysis and optimization of changeover. This is what the theories say, and in my experience says that there are at least 4 of them. But don't worry, I will explain you everything. Well, stage number 1. This is phase where we look at the current process, what activities are performed inside and outside machine. What does the workstation look like and what is there? We look at the tools, their quantity, usefulness and location. We observe the work of operators, technicians, people carrying out of this process general, how they work, whether everyone is involved, what exactly they do and in what order, how they move and cooperate. At this point, I highly recommend recording the process, as precise as possible. If the process in your production is long and complicated, record with several cameras from several positions. Here it's important to see the general changeover plan, all operators, but also to see individual operations, their courses, operator movements and tools. Once we have recorded, we need to analyze it carefully. It would be a great idea to include people related to this line and process, experienced operator, process engineer, HS specialist, maintenance engineer, quality engineer. If your company doesn't yet have such advanced structure, you either call a specialist like me and other like me, or you do it yourself based on the tips I will give you now. So, I recommend preparing a changeover sheet, 7 columns where you write down every element of current changeover process very carefully. Description of activity, time when the activity started and when it ended, whether the activity is internal, it means stops the machine, or external, it means performed outside the machine and doesn't require stopping it, what tools are used, whether the activity requires adjustment, if yes, which one, how many operators perform it, and the space for comments where you can enter ideas for changes on an ongoing basis. Change is the topic of stage number 2 and considered the most important. And rightly so, because depending on the condition of process, it can shorten it by to 50%. So it's worth focusing and thinking here, I guess. Your team or you must focus on the task of transferring as many elements that are made inside the machine as possible to outside the machine. In human terms, modify as many activities as possible so that they can be performed when the machine is turned on or production is running. What that means in practice? You must ask yourself, are the tools I use at hand and ready to go? Does it take an unnecessary road or Do I waste time doing something or finding a tools that could have been done and prepare earlier? Do I have the necessary components for a new model? I am waiting for a decision, for example, from my manager, and why do I have to wait for it? Do I know the parameters I should set? Do I know how to set or change something? At this stage, the ability to question and create action scenario different from those current known and to get out of the box is important. You have created the changeover sheet in first stage, you have video, you need to notice activities, tools and even people that are unnecessary, and vice versa. You need to imagine activities and tools that would speed up the work. Let the time needed to complete an activity, a long road and large number of tools, or even a friend who only holds a flashlight and shines it for himself, not for you, be a signal for you. At this stage, the thoughts, but this is how we have always worked, and it has always taken so much time and looked like this, doesn't enter your consciousness. We question, why does John set these parameters to 20 minutes? What is the reason for this? What can we do make it easier for him? Why does Kate goes to take different tools 5 times? Can we bring them closer? Can we change something in the machine so that instead of 5 tools we use only 2 or none at all? Why does Steven wait 30 minutes for components? Could it have been delivered faster? Why, how, where, how much? These questions aren't meant to be silent while you work. We are rearranging everything. Think about what activities and tools can be prepared faster and what processes can be carried out concurrently. When it comes to activities in sequence, a Gantt chart will be a great help as it will show you the entire process and individual actions. To speed up work with when the setting parameters or searching for tools, you can use visual management, colors, tables with parameters for a given model. It is worth considering whether to order a special tools would make it easier to unscrew or adjust something. Perhaps it is possible to replace the screws with the clamps. Maybe some parameters can be made the same for several product variants. Maybe think about documenting this process. Just because your team could do it today doesn't mean it will always be like this. You know, there are many possibilities. These are some of most popular solutions. After the stage, you need to know who is doing what, where and when, and what you need to make the changeover go quickly and smoothly. Stage number 3, in my humble opinion, is the most difficult part of all process. In a step, we prepare everything, test it, and then train and implement. And in each of these elements, dangers await us. I understand preparation as preparing the production environment from changeover process. Have you invented a tool that will make your work easier? Design, order, or make them. There are places that will make the work of your team easier with a color coding. Do them. Do you want to implement a tool trolley that will be used for a changeover and they will contain the paths and tools needed then? Prepare it, mark it. Have you decided that you will make a shelf with the components for a given product model that you will exchange? Make it. Actions must be clearly defined, visualized, timed, and enforced. It's not always that easy. Often there is money for new coffee machines, but there is no trolley to order. Priorities. Testing step is very often skipped and can destroy a lot of motivation for change. Just because your team has agreed on something doesn't mean it will work 100% first time. Therefore, it's worth testing the invented solutions, not even once but several times. Neither you nor I can predict everything. The production isn't a fairy tale land. There is always a twist and there isn't always the happy end. And good. Let's allow ourselves to make mistakes and give them a chance to fix them. We can learn a lot from this. Assuming that our new changeover system is 90% verified and ready, it should be handed over to employees. I don't know whether the changeover in your production will be done by operators or technicians, but those involved must know what is required of them and why, and the message must be clear. Old-style changeover is unacceptable. I advise you to make this training not only theoretical, because that will be a waste of time. The training should be practical in the most natural conditions possible and with the best possible preparation. I know companies that came up with a new concept, impose it on the lower level and leave it. No, the employee must be aware of changes, consequences, and expectations. It is good if someone explains why we do it in this way. In many companies, changeover was a topic that was left for a next shift, as an unwanted obligation or as a process that takes time and generates a lot of mistakes, so you can rush with it. Therefore, I will repeat it for a second time. Important signal is that the old method of changeover is unacceptable and the long changeover is a loss for company and the operator. Wait. For operator? Many companies include changeover time in their KPIs, which affect the amount of benefit for the operator. It is a good solution for discussion, because on the one hand it is motivation for operators, on another hand it is push people to cheat. And at least the most important and maybe the most difficult topic after learning new method, implementation. You need to be prepared that the new method will almost certainly be boycotted for reasons mentioned above. If it used to take 6 hours for a changeover to take place with everyone having around 30% workload, now it takes 2 hours and everyone has 80% workload. Let's not to be optimistic that the production team will be moved with a joy. What to do? For sure be consistent and ensure that the old method is in practice. Carry out an audit of changeover, its time, courses, correctness, and speed in achieving quality. Give these changes time and the space for mistakes. Involve operators in this process, in improvement this process. I will expand on this topic in a moment. And this last stage, which is often omitted in theory or included in stage 3, is process improvement. The process isn't permanent and isn't given forever. The composition of the team changes. The state of our knowledge and technology changes. We have new ideas or the product itself changes. A process that doesn't meet the requirements of reality will die. I talked about this in episode 3 of my podcast. From my experience, what mistake do small and medium-sized manufacturing companies most often make when implementing changeover process? Lack of involvement of operators and technicians in the process, modification and improvements, ignoring or belittling their opinion. And yes, I have met fat cats in companies who are always in denial, everything makes no sense and every change is bad. But in the same companies, I met people who had great ideas, knew where there was a mistake or opportunity, shared their ideas and expect support. And this is great and such attitude should be promoted. An example of such activation is conducting SMED and as workshops in production, so that the operator's opinion collide with engineer's observation, so that there is a space for discussion and creativity. Realistic, of course. Another way of activation is to choose a changeover leader or trainer who among operators who are experts in the subject of changeover, so that the knowledge in transfer from the same level in a structure and not drop it from level above. I hope you understand what I mean. Another mistake I encountered is one-dimensional approach of topic. That is why I said that if it is possible, of course, the SMED team project should be as diverse as possible. You know, a process guy will notice something different than a girl from maintenance, and the quality always has a lot to say. Exchange the observation, it is the clue. The next problem is planning changeovers. I don't know whether your company has a production planner or not, but there is often a situation when someone suddenly decides that today will be a changeover. It doesn't matter whether the production is ready for it or not. If you change equipment frequently, and you have several models to use, I recommend using the changeover matrix. That is a table with the times, how long it takes to change over from model B to C, D, F, G, and determine changeover so that these times are optimal. It really can save a lot of time, money, and nerves. A common mistake is not understanding why we're implementing SMED and defining the purpose for which we are doing it. I don't say that every production needs quick changeovers. Not every process management tool or method is for every production. Therefore, it's important that the production process manager is aware of direction in which he/she is going and what he/she wants to achieve. Just because something has worked for our competitors doesn't means it will benefit for us. Conscious leadership and management. I probably repeated every episode, so I will say it in this too. Sorry. And here is another topic related to previous one. Not monitoring result. To know where we are supposed to go, we need to know where we are starting from. I will just mention it here, but I will do a separate episode about it. Because the lack of monitoring result is a plague in startups and small companies, and even larger, but unaware ones. Okay, I complain, but I hope I didn't scare you. Yes, of course, there is a lot of work, but there's also benefits for your business. First, material is in circulation, it doesn't take up space, it doesn't lose value, it makes money. Quick changeover means greater flexibility of your production. You can produce more variants for your products and better respond to market needs. Production in small batches often means higher quality and impact on it. As we know, we don't save on quality because it will quickly backfire on a company. Saving time on activities that add value to product. Saving money because the changeover has no plan, no time frame, and last forever. Producing scrap can be very dangerous for your finance. A production company isn't an easy and cheap business. You know it best. But if you want to be in higher league, you want to be better, you have to use better methods. I think SMED is one of them, but isn't up to you whether you use it. Like every week, I am here to help you so that no one can easily overtake you in the race. Check next episode of Manage the Problem podcast. I will also be grateful for any substantive feedback, positive comments, and sharing this episode with others in our industry. I want this podcast to be a value and interesting for you. You can find me on LinkedIn. See you in next episode. Manage the Problem. Natalia Wojtkowiak.